Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer from The English Effect. Today we are going to unwrap the real story of Valentine's Day, and I promise you, it's so much more than just hearts and flowers. The history behind it all is this incredible journey that might just change the way you see February 14th forever. You know the drill, right? The chocolates, the cards, the romantic dinners. But have you ever really stopped and wondered, why? Why that specific day? The true story is this fascinating mix of mysterious saints, a poet who changed everything, and some traditions from around the world that are going to surprise you. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the saint who gave the day its name. Then we'll find out how a poet basically invented the romantic side of things. After that, we'll explore this whole new language of love that popped up, see how the rest of the world celebrates, and then wrap it all up by thinking about your own Valentine's gesture. All right, let's dive right in. First up, the man, the myth, the legend. Maybe. To really get the story, we have to ask, who was the real Saint Valentine? And, well, as you're about to see, that question is way more complicated than you'd think. So on one hand, you have these incredibly romantic legends, right? A heroic priest defying an emperor, performing secret weddings, even writing the very first Valentine from his jail cell. But then you look at the actual historical record, it's a lot murkier. Turns out there were at least 3 different saints named Valentine, and the facts are so blurry that in 1969, the Catholic Church actually removed his feast day from the main calendar. Now, take a look at this timeline. You see these martyrs way back in the 3rd century. But it's not until almost 500 AD that a pope even establishes the Feast of St. Valentine. And here is the absolute key, the most important part. Back then, this day had nothing to do with love. 0. It was just a day to honor a martyr. So if the day wasn't about love, how in the world did it become the single most romantic day on the calendar? Well, for that answer, we need to jump forward in time almost 1,000 years to meet a very, very influential English poet. And here it is. This quote right here is the turning point. In 1382, Geoffrey Chaucer wrote these lines, which basically mean this was on St. Valentine's Day when every bird comes to choose its mate. This is it, the very first time anyone ever connected Valentine's Day with romance. It wasn't a saint who started it all, it was a poet with a clever line about birds. So Chaucer's idea was like a spark, and it was about to start a huge fire. Let's look at how that one line in a poem created a whole new way to talk about love, and eventually a massive new industry. Chaucer's idea just exploded during the age of courtly love. And we're not talking about just dating. We're talking about courtship. This was a super formal, often really long period where a couple would get to know each other through some very specific romantic rituals. And right in the middle of this whole process was the suitor. A man trying to win a woman's heart. A noble suitor couldn't just, send a quick message. No way. He had to write poetry and give these really thoughtful gifts. It was all part of this elaborate romantic dance. And every single one of those poems, every gift, it was more than just a thing. It was a carefully chosen gesture. Each action was meant to prove just how deep and sincere the suitor's feelings really were. See, by sending these amazing valentines, which started out as handwritten poems, a suitor could proclaim his love. He was announcing it not just to her, but to everyone, with real passion and conviction. And the language they used? Oh, it was often incredibly fervent, just packed with passionate, intense emotion. These weren't casual, hey, what's up notes. They were these heartfelt declarations, and boy, were they about to evolve. And this tradition just kept growing. It went from these super personal, handwritten poems in the 1400s to books with pre-written verses in the 1700s for people who weren't so great with words. By the 1800s, you had factory-made cards. And then this woman, Esther Howland, basically became the mother of the American Valentine and turned it into a huge industry in the US. So what's the result of all that? Well, it's an absolute explosion. Today, something like 190 million Valentines are sent every year in the US. Think about that number. And that's not even counting the millions of little cards that kids exchange in school. It went from one line in a poem to this, a massive cultural event. But this whole thing didn't just stay in Europe and America. Oh no! As the idea spread across the globe, different cultures took it and ran with it, creating their own really cool and unique ways to celebrate love. I mean, just look at this. In Japan, the roles are completely flipped. Women give men chocolates on Valentine's Day, and guys return the favor a month later. Then you've got Finland, where it's not even about romance, it's Friends Day. Brazil just skips February altogether and has its own Lover's Day in June. And South Korea? They take it to a whole other level, with special days every single month, including one where single people get together to eat black noodles. How cool is that? Okay, so we've gone from ancient scenes all the way to modern global traditions. Let's bring all this back to the core idea. Using powerful language to make your own gesture, something that's really meaningful. So when we think about how we express ourselves, we have this really rich vocabulary to pull from. We can show adoration, which is that deep, profound respect for someone. We can cherish them, protect and care for them. We can use a simple term of endearment, or work on building that deep intimacy that truly connects us. And now we want to hear from you. After thinking about all this history and language, how would you proclaim your adoration for someone you cherish? Pick one of the new words we talked about today and write a sentence in the comments below. Come on, let's practice this language of love together. If you enjoyed this journey and learned something new, we'd love it if you helped our community grow. Please don't forget to like this explainer, share it with a friend, and subscribe to The English Effect on both YouTube and Facebook for more deep dives into the stories behind our language. Thanks for watching.